We haven't started the meeting then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I call the meeting to order. It's 12:33. The Pledge of Allegiance.
And we have the poll, we have all the facilities, but we're not ready yet.
It's
So
got a
next
flag.
meeting, we're gonna have our flag. So now
It's got a flag.
we will.
Yeah,
it's on
okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Today is April the 25th, 2019. Dr. Sandra Leander here. Ms. Rosemary Cavazos here. Ana Laura Lulune here. Melissa Mujica.
Perfect.
Alexandra Colesides, she sent an email and advised all of us that she won't be coming to the meeting today. Sandra Isolis.
Here.
Cindy Cantu, she just texted me knowing that she's not going to be able to make it to the meeting. Roberto Simpson del Valle.
Here.
Lilian Treviño.
Here.
Ana Laura Cavazos Ramirez.
Here.
Angélica Treviño. Mr. Alberto Ramirez.
Present.
Mr. Rodolfo Gonzalez.
Present.
Karina, I'm here, and Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay. Any citizen comments? Okay, so we have moved to approve the minutes for March the 28th.
So move.
I have some comments, sir.
Can we second for this for?
Oh,
for
I'll
discussion?
second it on the discussion. I believe that if you look under item 7, the third paragraph, it keeps referring to the judiciary branch, and I think what we were talking about, or to be more specific, it should be municipal court. Wherever we have judiciary branch in that, in that paragraph. Additionally, at the end of that paragraph, at the top of the next page, it says that there are other problems such as individual cultures, background breeders, dog aggressiveness that influence the high number of violations. I don't remember that exactly was our discussion. I believe that we talked about alternatives to just simply paying a fine, such as community service, and this is what we were discussing about municipal court. We were saying that instead of simply paying a fine, the alternatives could be community service rather than a fine. Also,
May I interject to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the municipal court rules, we don't. So
I understand what you're saying, but these
Oh,
are the
yeah.
minutes, so this is the discussion
Yeah.
that we had.
Yeah,
And you
so-
made the same comment
Yeah.
last time. But we didn't talk about really background readers and all that. When we were talking about municipal court, we were saying that we should see about increasing our return to owner rates because you were saying, and Mr. Gonzalez was saying, that people don't come and pick up the animal because they don't want to pay the fine. And they don't know how much it's going to be. And we said, well, you know, the idea is to get these animals out of here, and that perhaps we could offer or talk to municipal court about alternatives to just paying a fine that would help us in our mission to return the animals and get them vaccinated and microchipped and all of that. And we talked about, and that's what the discussion was, alternatives to paying a fine, such as people who can't afford it doing community service, or allowing people to use the money they would have paid for a fine towards microchipping, vaccinating, spaying and neutering, and providing proof of that, and having that perhaps discounted from the fine. That was the discussion.
And that needs to be, I guess if you can modify that, but I'll tell you, that's the discussion, and so everyone will know. We have, just as an example, this week or past week, we had a situation where we picked up 2 pit bulls. One of
I have a
the
video.
yeah, one of those pit bulls tore up to pieces, to shreds, another dog. And so, and this was another case.
Another one?
Yeah, and so on this other case, we picked up these dogs, they went to municipal court, and the judge asked us to waive certain fees. And on top of that, Will asked us to have, or rather, bring them in here to do voluntary work. So the board will know, that's already in existence. So, we don't need to ask anymore, but it needs to be reflected in the minutes, but that already
Right.
exists today. The judge has the ability to ask, in other words, not only will he either reduce or remove the fines at the municipal court that are municipal court by themselves, but they'll also ask us to waive any other fees like impound fees and those sort of things. So it's already happening, it's in place. So if Karina, just make a note of that so that we can put
Right,
that in.
that was the discussion we had as far as the minutes are concerned.
Just for clarification purposes, she further explained that it is not simply an issue of compliance. but-
Just read, when we get back to the notes
Yeah.
today, just modify the minutes and then we'll approve them as amended.
Yeah. Also, under Roman number 8, paragraph, the first paragraph there, it's right in the middle, it said, she stated that LACS is not fixing the problem, but rather avoiding it. And I think that we're not saying the discussion was not avoiding it, but contributing to the problem. That was the
Contributing?
contributing, not avoiding. And then in the next paragraph, it says, in the middle of the paragraph, it says, Analytic Officer Ramirez suggested to create a video highlighting all pertinent information, statistics, and facts, and then we should add in there relating to spay and neuter. That's what we were talking about, the benefits of spay and neuter to educate the public. And have potential adoption candidates watch the video as an adoption requirement. And then Alberto Ramirez, director, concurred but explained that. And then the rest of that sentence is kind of confusing to me. I believe that what,
It should be in compliance, but we will check with
Right.
our attorneys to make sure that we are, yeah.
right, but the comment that was made at that time was that the video should be produced by the city of Laredo so that it is in compliance with legal internal requirements.
That is correct.
Right, and that was the comment, that it should be, the video had, because I was suggesting that there were many videos on the internet, that we didn't have to reinvent the wheel, and the discussion and the comment by Mr. Ramirez was that it needed to be a video produced by the city of Laredo, and that we could not get it off the internet.
So we just make your motion would be to make all these amendments.
Yes, to make these corrections and amendments to the minutes. And that's all I have.
So then the chair will, there's a motion and a second,
Okay.
Madam Chair, to make these amendments to our minutes, so if you now place it for a vote.
If we have a vote for
All those in favor?
the amendments, all in favor? Okay. Against? Sorry.
Motion carries and we will make those amendments.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and possible action related to shelter statistics and other matters incident thereto.
So if you would just elaborate on what exactly you wanted us to do.
Your stats?
Okay, so you want me to go through the steps? Okay, very well. So again, I'm gonna try and bring every week, and I produce this same report and it goes to every council member. The only thing that we didn't add to this report is that I give them a monthly total as well. So here, we just have a running three weeks so that we all can see what we're doing here. Again, no changes from what we're doing. You'll see from week to week, and we'll go through this particular week. We had more intakes, and so the intakes are probably going to be because of cat season. And so we do have quite a lot of cats, mostly more than dogs, but our intake, as you can tell on both, the cats went up to 129 from 80 and 64 the past weeks. And so we expect these numbers to continue because it's the season.
It's kitten season.
Kitten season will be more. Adoptions, true adoptions. So again, as not to confuse it with a foster to adopt, these are the actual adoptions that we got that were finalized. And that's pretty steady as well. The fostering, we again have had an increase in fostering. That again is on the rise. The euthanasia, we've had to euthanize more cats again because we are, or rather the public is bringing in mostly kittens without mamas. And these kittens can't really survive. Now, we had a situation yesterday where one of our employees contacted via Facebook, just put it out there that they needed to be saved, and so we had a group that came over and was willing to foster them overnight. In other words, every 2 hours feed all the kittens, and then a rescue was going to take them today. And so they were willing also to take the kittens and feed them, and hopefully they'll survive. But again, without having them tested, without knowing how healthy they are, we cannot bring them in to take a risk that they may have some disease and will cause us to have to put down more of our population. So again, that's the protocols, those are the procedures that we have in place because of the risk and of the fact that we don't have the space for cats. So these numbers are going to continue to rise in the next few weeks, if not maybe the next couple months. Things will normalize. And I'll save the rest of this discussion because there's an item on fosters, and I'd like to also discuss with you all what we're doing there. I think we're doing well, and the numbers are proving that as well. Return to owners, again, we had talked about this in our last meeting, and you can tell our numbers went up this last week to 18 for dogs, 1 for cat. Seldom do we get, most of them are feral cats, so we don't really get many people looking for cats that have been picked up. Spay and neuters, again, we were up 2 weeks ago at 15 for dogs, and now we're at mostly the same levels.
And I do want to make a little comment on that. Part of this would be higher because we have no shows. People, we're saying 5 to 10 to 15 people that are supposed to show up with their pets. They don't show up, and they've given like 3 times, and they're going to start picking them up. And this is actually higher than this because I do 2 to 3 spays every single day, 5 days a week at my office, in addition to what we do here.
I know that you weren't here at the last meeting,
Yes.
and one of the things that we discussed about the spay neuter, and I think Mr. Trevino, who's not here, because Mr. Trevino, anyway, Councilman Martinez is appointing, Lillian said that. Oh, she is, sorry. Anyway, she brought up a suggestion that, anyway, we were advised at that meeting that people are, if the animal hasn't had its vaccination, spayed or neutered or anything, that you said that the potential adopter was not paying the fee yet. And so the suggestion was, why don't we get them to pay 50% of the fee as an incentive for them to come back, because they've already paid.
I can answer
part of
that,
that.
because again, our ordinance, we've got to go by our ordinance. We can't make up new ordinances as we go along.
Well, I guess, but what I'm
So
trying to
there's
say
no-
is, that's the point, that we're making suggestions of things that could possibly help solve the dilemmas that we have now.
Well, the people aren't coming back because they don't want them spayed and neutered. That's why they're not coming back.
So why are we
I have,
releasing?
I confiscated one in my office and made him spay, I made him neuter the dog. He was not happy. He didn't went and filed a complaint, but
He went to city.
yeah, I calmed him down, but the dog got neutered. But, I mean, he literally, made a scene. crying, took me an hour to keep him from crying because
What
I'm
was
gonna neuter
the
the dog.
rationale for him not wanting, did they want to breed, or is this
No.
a cultural
Oh,
thing?
it's a
It's like
cultural
a
thing.
cultural
You're
thing.
taking the testicles off the dog. The men see, and I see this all the time. It's not, I'm not trying to be racist or anything or sexist. As they think, you know, it's almost like you're, you know, if we spay a dog, it's like, oh, you're taking my ovaries out. No, they think like, you're taking my testicles out. Oh my God, you know. Now it's a cultural thing, and it's frustrating. Even women, you're gonna neuter the dog? I know, no se puede hacer. You know, it's.
Well, then, you know, and that was part of the discussion that we had, then we're contributing to the, we're not solving any problems by releasing
Well,
these
then,
animals.
well, what are you gonna do? Because we
Unfixed.
have only so much room here, and we have dogs that we have to bring in.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So it's put
Then
them
at
down.
that point, maybe we should look into saying, okay, you want this animal, you know that the adoption fee is so much, pay the fee. You know what? This animal's getting adopted, he's going to the vet today or tomorrow, whatever, you know. They've already paid us, and then they pick it up when it's already altered.
Well, right, I'm gonna correct that. There is a line of, that's a very fine line, where that's where they use foster to adopt. Because if they pay and they adopt,
It
the animal
becomes
has to be
theirs.
fixed. It's by state law.
It's there, and it's
The
there.
animal has to be fixed.
If
I
it's
mean-
foster, then that buys us time to try to get it done.
So we're saying these are the fosters that are not?
Exactly, so the only recommendation that we have mentioned before is any animal that is adoptable should be fixed. And those, you know, pues,
They have, like, there's some that
But,
have
you know,
fixed that are
but
here
it kinda
for
like solve the
6
problem.
months. Fixed, ready to go, and they don't take them. Rescues don't take them, people don't take them, so that's a spay and neuter that I could have done to one of these instead of sitting here, but that's
And so
another.
let me interject. So
Yes.
we've made some changes this week. As we continue to make changes, we've made changes constantly here since I've been here. And I told my group, my guys, that the changes are gonna continue. We're gonna continue until we get this thing the way it needs to be. So there is chaos today. Well, there was chaos last week. There is not as much chaos today because we didn't have spacing for all the animals. So as they were coming in from the intakes, we were putting them anywhere where space was available. And what was happening is that all of these groups, these rescue groups that come, they'll go to the A section, they'll go to the R section, which are the ones that were recently brought in. And so what happens is they stay away from the Bs and Ds, which are the ones that are ready, that should be ready to go. But now, with the way it was before, it was just so mixed up that it would be impossible for us to vet a pet or an animal 100%. We've made some changes, I moved people around, effective on Monday, and so that's what we're working. Right now, we've got every animal in the D section have been snap tested, and so we're getting them ready for adoptions, we're getting them ready for rescues. We're now moving the R's and the A's into D. So when Michelle comes in, Michelle goes straight to the B's and D's, because what's happening is all of these dogs and the B's and D's get bottlenecked because they take the ones that are coming in, and it's not fair because to keep these pets alive, these dogs that have been here for 3 and 4 or 5 months.
Correct.
And so we are correcting all these deficiencies, and this, you know, we did have a situation here. There's the management instructed, or rather made changes. I'm here. I cannot do this overnight. And so we are moving in a direction that I hope you all would be satisfied in the way we're working this thing, except we need more time. But believe me, you can talk to any of my staff and they'll say, "Man, I'm tired of changes." But like I said, we're going to tweak and tweak and tweak until click, it falls there. Now we got it right. So these ratios, these statistics that you'll see, hopefully that is the plan that we improve. We're not going to make any improvements on intakes, but we will try to make improvements to the euthanized, sections to the return to owners, to fosters. But we're getting there.
But we really need to push the education,
Yes.
of the benefits of
So
spending.
may I introduce to all of you all,
Yes.
Amanda Arambula.
Yeah.
She's
I was
part.
gonna ask about that.
Thank you. So this, again, if you all have the patience, just have the patience that I'm requesting so we can get all these things in order. And with your recommendations and with you all's comments, we will incorporate whatever it takes into our operations to make this thing work. And so Amanda has replaced Samantha. And so she is learning the ropes. So this week I have her working with rescues, because that's a big part of what she's gonna have to be working with. And so at some point, and we've talked about it, we've had a discussion that at some point in the next maybe month or so, I need for her to be truly, truly understanding of this business so that she can go out now to the schools, meet with the principals, and get something going, some programs so that we can educate the students the way we were doing before. I pulled back Sam, because we had a problem with the rescues. Sam, had her ways of doing things, but again, not to criticize. So we're going to rework that. Her task is going to be to work with these. I have allocated a clerk full-time to assist in this work, where we didn't have that before. So again, all of these plans are in action. I just ask for some time.
So could you give us an idea of her job description? What does it entail?
The job description is that of a program coordinator. So with that, she is going to be responsible for going out and educating the public. She'll be putting out informational, educational things of programs that we want to initiate, so that, like, for instance, the TNR, that would be one area that we'll get some help from the coordinator.
Do you have somebody on staff that works with social media?
No. The only one that was working with social media was the program coordinator. So, again, but I don't want to go off too fast, because she doesn't come from a background, and I'm sorry, Amanda doesn't come from a background of animal shelter. So we really need to get her educated on how it really works before she can go out there and do all of these things. So I want her to learn from the bottom up. And I just put her up at the top and just wait. Don't worry about learning all of these little things, all these nuances. Forget about them. Just hit the ground running over here. So, there's a learning curve. And so, yes, that's the intent.
So the reason I'm saying is, you're talking about her going out into the classrooms. You go out into a classroom, maybe you're able to educate or whatever, reach 24, 25 kids at the most, because of class size. But if we could do social media, you hit so many more people.
Yes, you do, but social media also has its drawbacks. Because
I'm just saying, we were talking at the last meeting about a video on the pros and cons, I guess, for lack of a better word, of spay and neuter. And that could reach
yes, but what we're talking about, what I would entertain to if I get directives from the committee to go in that direction, I would probably vet it out, I'd contract it out. I mean, if we're gonna do a video for a particular, it makes no sense for me to have a full-time person that I'm not gonna get to do exactly, only, and totally all day long to do that. I
And
can't.
somebody who's good at it and knows how to.
And so that would be
Yeah,
contracted
I'm
out.
just saying a video that we could put on the city's website or on your Facebook page or whatever it is, that would educate the public.
Yeah, and I understand all that, but again, you're leaving out that portion of the being patient, because I can't do it right now, immediately with the staff that I have. And so I'm saying, yes, I'll entertain that, but you're making it sound as if you want it to happen now, and I can't have it now.
No,
That's what
I'm saying, you're talking about her going out and educating a classroom of children or kids, and all I'm saying is, if you know, we discussed it at the last meeting, the possibility of a video that could, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't do it simultaneously. You talked about the city having.
A video, in my opinion, you cannot micromanage me. But what I'm telling you is, if I were to get that done, I'd get it through a contractor. I wouldn't get it through internal staff.
What about like a PSA?
We talked about that last time too, and
Yeah, but again, we would contract it out, we wouldn't
Okay.
have staff do that. We're not, that is not our forte. It's just like asking you to
Well,
do an
produce
accounting
it.
job, you're an
Produce it,
attorney.
yes, I understand that. I'm just saying that, you know, if you're looking to get a bigger bang, you know, for your dollars or whatever, your time and education, you know.
We will put a program together that will be all inclusive.
And at noon, they have sometimes the dog of the week.
Yes.
Pet of the week, and they talk to them a little bit about what.
Yeah, and I think we've had this conversation before, because for instance, what happened when we were trying, the city was trying to get everyone to not put everything into our garbage. You know, so we have cells that cost a lot of money, so we needed to have all those recyclables. The state mandated that we bump up our numbers. How we did that, we hired a person to go out through the schools to educate the kids, that would educate the grown-ups that we needed to recycle, you know, because we were wasting taxpayer dollars. So going to the schools is not the only thing
Right.
that we would require, but it's a start. It's a
Right.
start, because the kids would
But
tell
in
their mom.
conjunction, I would think, with print
Yes.
media, a PSA, that's exactly how
Yes,
they did it
yes,
for the
but
trash.
again, so if you're asking me to do that, I would say yes, and I would be in agreement, but I may not necessarily agree that Amanda would be the one doing it.
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm
Well,
not
we were
saying that
talking,
she
well,
has
we
to
were
do
talking
that.
about her responsibilities.
No, and that's, I asked, who is in charge of social media?
Yeah.
And then last time we brought up this thing about the video, and last time we also brought up that people who foster, people who come in to adopt, should be required to watch the video on the benefits of spaying and neuter as part of the requirement for adoption or fostering.
Would you, tell us, would you talk about when you counsel everyone who wants to do a foster?
When I meet with them, I go through the issue of making sure that they're going to have a good home, the responsibilities involving keeping of a pet, because it is a responsibility. The health, vaccination schedules, rabies vaccinations, microchipping registration, because they have to do it every year. And in addition, feed schedules also, I gotta make sure that they feed them properly. And basically, I'm really pressing on responsibility.
But speak more, spay and the neuter.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, that is part of that whole agreement.
I
Because
guess-
I go over through the actual application itself, where I quote what the ordinance or the state law requires, which is that they need to be sterilized before the finalization of the adoption.
No dog or cat leaves this facility without an ACO or a supervisor sitting down with that person. We don't just cut them loose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it would be beautiful if we could do like San Antonio does. They actually do home inspection and make sure they, basically, just like you're adopting a child, they do a background check. The problem with us is that we'd be putting more animals down because people it's a cultural thing, it's a mentality thing. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So therefore, then that's one less animal that goes out that door. And Beto and I sat down at lunch and made a list of like 50 dogs that we had to either put down or find homes for. We called Michelle while we were at lunch. I said, Michelle, we have this many dogs on death row, if you will. Can we get them out of here? She took them in a week, about a week or 10 days, 40 animals out, so that we wouldn't have to, and so really and truly, getting them rescued if you look at the numbers that are rescued versus the numbers that are actually fostered and adopted, it's just tenfold. And I do a lot of space, and even though what's not on here are not only just spays and neuters for people that have adopted or fostering to adopt, a lot of these rescues that take these dogs, we also spay and neuter them there. Some of them, luckily, we don't have to, that they ship them out to there. plus what we do here. So this number of actual spay and neuters is a lot higher. But I agree, we need a video. The one thing that I was pushing, we need a training video for employees, new employees. Here, sit down and watch this. A video, I would agree, when people adopt, it'd make it easier. And one of the things that I've done in the past, and maybe I'm gonna do this is a great idea, just right now, maybe in May when things slow down, is get with KGNS, and I've done it on the Spanish channel. My Spanish is not as good as some of other people, but I try. And tell the public, you know, hey, when you adopt a dog or you get a pet, it's going to cost you this much, and I tell them, this is what it costs to vaccinate every year. This is what it costs to do heartworm prevention every year. Of course, spaying and neutering is a one-time thing, get it done. We even have a little deal in my office that has 6 reasons why you spay and neuter. Cancer, overpopulation, aggression, marking territory, I mean, there's blah, blah, blah. We educate everybody, so get on KGNS and then say, okay, then you have your dog food. So if you have a Chihuahua, it eats this much. If you have a Great Dane, it eats this much. So if you have a pet, you need to have a little savings account or a little jar that says, this is my dog and cat money, and this is what it's going to cost. If I have 1 pet, it costs you this much per year. If I have 5 pets, it's going to cost you this much per year. You know, so they can they afford it? And what they do. Now, are they going to listen? Probably 1 out of 10.
And I totally agree with you. All I'm saying is that if we already know that the mentality of our community is they don't want to spay and neuter for a variety of reasons, you know, culture, whatever, then, you know,
Why are we releasing those?
why are we releasing them? That's what I keep saying, and it's in our minutes.
And I agree.
Contributing to the problem. We're
Well-
giving them an animal that you know they're probably going to breed
Okay,
or
so
it's going to
let's-
get pregnant.
And I agree with you. Okay, so here's a dog that comes into the facility. Here's that dog, okay? Our options are euthanize, foster to adopt, rescue. This is the ideal situation. Why? Because this gets it out of Laredo. And I will tell you, if you really want to help, what we really need to do is find a way to transport these dogs to the northeast and to the northwest where they have a shorter. That is your biggest, more than anything else.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah, if we had a friggin' air-conditioned 18-wheeler with cages and everything, they could come to Laredo, load it up with animals, go north, unload animals along the way, drive back, load up. That's where you're gonna save lives, right here. This, 1%. This could be 99%, and then we could make that 0. That's what we need. We need to forget about the people of Laredo because there's backyard breeders. They're not coming and paying their fees. I give lectures to them all the time, and it goes in one ear and out the
This
other.
will never happen.
Well, you know that, and I know that.
We just have to make sure that
We just have to-
when you all transfer out, that where they're going,
They're
it's
going-
not, they're not
these-
going to a foster.
No, these are
They
going,
have to go to a 5
these are going,
We do.
yes, they are.
And you all have the
We
paperwork?
Absolutely, and we ask for
Absolutely.
their copies of the 501c3.
Okay,
Yes,
So,
great.
yes.
absolutely.
And we're in the same position that LAPS has been in, not anymore because you became a non-kill, which is great. But, you know, even when I volunteered for LAPS, there are hundreds of thousands of dogs that went out from LAPS from day 1 until not too long ago that have never been spayed and neutered, no follow-up was ever done. The same kinds of things, all those animals are out there, just like, I mean, I've only been here since October. You've only been here, what?
Well, it's been
January.
already since 2014, 15 that every dog or every cat that leaves laps.
Yeah, but you're in a different situation. You have this
Oh,
many
yes.
animals and they're all spayed and neutered, and that's all there is. We're here having this many come in, and something has to be done. This is on a weekly basis or a daily basis. This is daily. So unfortunately, if this dog or cat or whatever comes in can't go here or here, it has to go here.
Well, I guess that comes in hand with Lulu and Laura, as they're saying that the education,
Exactly.
the
I
video,
agree
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, if you're
to
going to
rec-
transfer out, like you're saying, give the animals to rescues, then spaying and neutering, like you said, may not be a big issue.
Because
But,
they get spayed and neutered here. We make sure of that.
well, yeah, but when you're releasing them, unless
here.
Even on the foster to adopt.
We're not,
You know,
they're not.
well,
If they're not
unfortunately-
babies, you know, that don't have the age or the size or whatever to be spayed or neutered, before we release them, we would eliminate a problem if we don't release them.
Okay, then this goes out, so they either go here or here.
Yep.
And this is very small,
So
because
then you're saying, look, the only reason they're coming in is to take an animal so they can breed it.
they are, believe it or
whatever.
not,
Then that's what I said last time, and you weren't here, and I apologize for that. But we're just contributing to the problem. We're not solving any problems.
we're
making
never
it
gonna
work for
solve the
ourselves.
problem, we're never gonna solve the problem if we just tell the public you can't get animals. And I have to catch up. I have several years of animals that I'm catching up, much less the ones that are going out here. I'm doing some here and some from behind.
So then is
So
what
what do
you're
you want me
telling
to
us?
do?
Is
No,
that what
I'm
you're
asking you,
telling us?
what do you wanna do with 200 animals a week? What do you wanna do with those 200 animals a week?
I'm
How are
just
we gonna fix
saying, look, if the animal is going to leave here, you know, then one, we educate through video or whatever, because it takes an employee's time to repeat that. You know, the people, this employee could be doing something else.
We need them present because they can just turn on the thing, blow it up and leave. They need
Well,
that
they
presence.
can't leave, okay,
It's
but
something
anyway.
I think that can't really be
It's
solved
not
out
a
at once.
solvable, it's not, it's not.
You can put the videos out there, when she goes out to the school, she could also pass out pamphlets, she can do a video for the kids, you know, a small video, but does it really click in? I mean,
It's
it's
like-
like, understand.
So over the 10 or 12 years that we've had this thing over at solid waste, our numbers are up to about 60% recyclables. And do you have kids that say, Mom, don't do this can in the garbage
My
can?
kids do that. They're like, you
I
gotta
mean,
rinse it.
Yeah.
And then they put it in the recycle.
Now, that's not, I'm not suggesting that we do nothing else but
It's gonna
that.
help, it's gonna
But
help
you're
with
putting
time.
this down and saying, well, do a video in lieu of educating the kids. I mean, it starts with.
You do both. You do
just
both,
saying
you
you
educate
do
them with a
both.
little
Okay,
video
or I
too.
have an idea. Why don't each and every one of us pick a school? They have career day. I do it when I can. I go to quite a few career days, and I even take a pet when they allow me to take one. And I talk to the number of kids, and we do it mostly in the elementary schools, because that's when they're gonna listen the most. And a lot of those kids are too busy petting the pet, and they're not listening, unfortunately. But you know, you have to take touch and see. But do it, just do it. They have career days, and just do it. What else can we do? You know, I agree. Or we all get together and make the video ourselves. I'll take my time. I will do whatever you want me to do. I will. But each and every one of us has to do it too. I would say that. So why don't we, I suggest, or I move that each and every one of us volunteers to either take a school or contribute to making the video, all of us together.
And what I suggested last time is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The videos are already out there from, you know, Maddie's Fund, from so many other organizations.
I've never seen one. Why don't, the next meeting, why don't we bring that?
The only thing I have concern with that is that this is Laredo, it's not Austin and San Antonio, so you
Yes.
can't just bring
Well,
a
let's- but they're
video.
not
Next
talking
video,
about
let's take a
that.
look at it.
They're talking
Preview it.
about
Let's take a
Okay.
that
Okay,
sustainability.
let's go, let's bring, I'm gonna suggest if you've actually, you bring the video next time, it's probably gonna be a short one, right?
Yes.
And let's watch it and decide what,
So,
so we
I'm
can,
sorry.
yeah.
In conjunction with what we're discussing,
Yeah.
other than outreach to schools, what does the program coordinator's
Work
job
with rescue.
encompass?
Oh, yes, thank you, work on multiple subjects.
Try to get this number as high as possible, reestablished with
But
rescues, and that's what we've done.
Through
We've
what
done that.
means other than school visits? What are the other avenues that she will be pursuing? What are the other programs other
We
than
can
in
start
school?
working on videos as well. I mean,
That's,
these are those are
I
the.
think public service announcements
Yeah.
and print media, exactly like your example said, for the
Yes, but I-
recycling.
yes.
Just a small
No, but
caption
I-
on
A small-
TV,
yes.
commercial.
A
Yes.
small
It
PSA.
will.
Hang on. Hang on. The city has resources for that. Okay, and so we can utilize those resources. I don't have to, you do them in-house.
Okay.
We got a PIO office, as you well know, and so we can reach out to them. So, yeah.
Maybe bring the video and we can get with that officer, they can look at that video, and I think it should be with people from Laredo.
I'll
Make
invite
a
the
video
PIO
with people
next-
from
next
Laredo.
I agree.
I'd like to volunteer my time if you ever need help to come help you with rescues or schools to set up. I work from home, so I have a lot of free time. I'll give you my name or point out my
I will as
number.
well, and I know that Sandra will too.
Okay,
Sandra wants to go on, okay.
let's continue, I mean, because we all work, so let's continue.
Video so you can get something.
Okay, so this is what I'd like to do, if you guys, I'd rather just in the form of a motion, that way we can get it done.
Okay.
So that we bring in our PIO next week, or our next meeting, and bring a video,
Okay.
and put a plan together to start working on the video. So if
A
anyone,
community
Video
education.
and
Yeah.
print
so if
media.
anyone will make a motion,
And that could help you also.
I move that we review that next time that we.
Second.
Okay, there we go. Y'all vote.
Video and print.
Discussion.
And print media.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next topic, because we already.
Next up, yes. Discussion and possible action related to the holding time for rescue groups and any other matter incident thereto. Basically, what's a holding time for the rescue groups for the animals to stay here? Is there a policy in place where they tag, they hold them, and they leave? So the reason why I'm, asking this is to leave that space that you need.
Right.
Okay, let's go back to the
Post it on the
200,
door?
only 200 animals. So if we hold them longer, that means animals can't get picked up and brought in.
Exactly. So what's the holding time?
So it varies. I'll give you a for instance. Two that I'm working on right now. They started tagging cats on Monday.
Who is they, a rescue group?
Yes. Okay. The transport's coming tomorrow. So that's 4 days, typically. So it's very difficult for us to get a list of 20 or 15 cats. And let's say that I give them 24 hours, so the holding period would be 24 hours. I need, in most cases, even though now they're taking them without being snapped,
Yeah.
but
they're
in
going
most
to
cases, the procedure for us is to snap them. Make sure that they're disease-free, or at least let them know whether or not they carry a disease, whether they're friendly, et cetera, et cetera. So 24 hours is impossible. We don't have the manpower to do 15, 20 cats one day to the next. We just don't have the manpower. So we
No,
give
but there's a
ourselves
72-hour holding time.
A lot of those
It's-
rescues will bring them to
yeah,
my office and I'll
but-
snap them there.
4 days on an average. Dogs is a little
So then
more.
the sign on the door is for what? That
That's
says
for
that?
holding an animal before we decide it can be adopted, before it can go out to foster, before it can go out to rescue. We give everybody an opportunity to make sure that it's not their pet. If it's got a tag or a chip, we'll call them, they'll come in, they'll either decide to take it or they'll sign off and say, we want to surrender it.
It's
So
basically your lost and found time frame.
it's a 72-hour hold for them.
72, yeah.
Yeah. What we're talking about is from the time that they tag an animal to the time they can pick it up. So 72, 3 to 4 days is more.
For
than-
rescue groups? Because I've seen, where we've come 2 weeks and they're still tagged for one.
Yeah,
For one
now,
rescue. I mean, it's
Well,
already
other
covered.
options-
with PALS, it
Yeah.
works different. PALS comes in on a Monday, Michelle and Diamante. And they'll videotape, they'll photograph. Their transport won't be here for eight working days. So that
So that's holding time for kennels.
kills me. But we do the best we can not to euthanize. So I'd rather do that and hold them and get those rescues out than tell Michelle, sorry, I gotta put them down.
Because then she'll quit doing it and then
Yes.
she won't take any
So then,
animals
what happens when your ACOs pick up other animals? Are those euthanized because there's no
There's a
room?
72-hour period. We will make room in 72 hours. So if we don't have room, we gotta come over here to these dogs that have been here for 3 or 4 months, start taking them down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Other animals are dying.
That's why remember what I told you earlier, we're fixing this thing so that we can
They're
have a
going to
flow.
Ds and Bs only, so they cannot pick the new
Yes.
ones coming in, they have to pick from the old ones.
Up until a week ago, a dog would come in, put it over here, put it over there. They were all over the place. And so which ones are snap, which ones are not, it's chaos. We're fixing it. So we hope to have that under control.
Okay.
Now, we can afford to do this with the dogs, and we don't have to put that many down. Look at the euthanized list, they're not that
Cats
many.
is the only.
The problem
Cats
is
is
the
the
cats.
other problem.
Yeah, I guess we're, yeah.
Okay, so no action on that?
No, it was just-
2 hours stay?
it was
This is just asking.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a holding time, and if there was a way that we can improve that where, there's more space, and like you were
Yeah.
saying, so,
Yeah, and if y'all adopt, pull from us too, that would be great.
One comment. I am remodeling one of our buildings. I started yesterday. This is what we call our observation. This is where the intakes come in. So it's a very large kennel. And so in the middle of the kennel is we had our euthanasia table. And on the sides we have the kennels for either cats or dogs.
Yeah.
While they go through the 72-hour and we do what we need to do. So we started remodeling it Monday. And what we're going to do there is we're going to take about 60 feet out of about 80. And the width of it is 22. That's the entire width of the kennel. We're going to completely enclose it. Completely. We're going to AC it. We're going to put plumbing in it. And I'm not planning, it's happening now. It's under construction as we speak. So in there, we're going to do our euthanasia table, our euthanasia room, and we're going to be putting in a lot of kennels for cats. So we're going to be moving out from these trailers that we have, and we're going to be moving them in there. The follow-up project is we had a washroom that we never used. And so I'm going to be converting that to a cat house. I've already got the roof, I've got the foundation, I've got 2 walls. Well, actually, the 2 walls, they don't go up all the way, but it won't take long to fill them. So this project is the one that we're doing now is going to take about 3 weeks. This other one will take about 1 week. So we are now going to have more space for cats.
What are we gonna do about washing?
The washing? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. We already have a space for the washer and the dryer.
Oh, boy, that's
great.
And we have the funding for the washer and the dryer. And we have funding for these 2 projects that I'm now entertaining, so.
Okay.
That's great.
Gotta wash all the blankets and stuff,
I
my
have a bunch,
God.
so I take them from here, I vet them, spay and neuter, vaccinate, test, snap them, and if rescue doesn't take them, if I can move them out, I can grab more from here. So if you have room and you want them vetted, come to my office, I have.
Now, all of this is thanks to Public Works and John Orfila, so he's the one that's helping us with these 2 projects. I think they're very good projects, very critical. And if we wanted to keep those trailers a little bit longer, if we wanted to, but we may not want to because they're in bad shape.
Yeah.
But we may want to keep one of them and get rid of the other one because I'm making enough room for cats. So hopefully our numbers will improve with that as well.
okay.
Are those trailers going to be used for something else as opposed to just getting rid of them?
For your washer and dryer.
They're pretty stout.
They're in there.
One of them.
They're in bad shape?
Yeah, they're in bad shape.
Really bad shape?
Yeah.
One of them, yes. One of them, yeah.
Not worth
They
it.
would cost more
Maybe
to
for
fix them.
storage?
We have an area for the washer and
But
dryer.
do they go for storage?
Oh, no.
That they can get, it probably would take more money to fix them than it would to buy a whole new one. That's how bad they are.
Yeah, one of them is pretty bad. I even tried myself. The other one, but one of them.
One of them is salvageable, the other one's not.
Yeah. Okay, so we move. Discussion and possible action related to rabies clinic scheduled for the year and any other matter intended to thereto.
Okay, so we had sort of put off the rabies clinic for a few months, and we're back on track, okay?
We just
We
did one
just
last
had
week.
one, and the public is asking for more, so we'll more than likely go back on a monthly basis.
And these are like every 3 weeks?
They're once a month.
Once a
Once a month?
We have been doing them the first Wednesday of every month. I'm gonna recommend that we stay on that because people get their checks, they have money, and they'll bring the animals in to get them done. If you do it at the end of the month and they don't have any money, they won't bring them in.
And where do you help?
Here. As a matter of fact, we cordon off the parking area, and we set up 5 tables, and.
So the first one's the
As
other month?
many as they can come, we'll do them all.
We had 50 come in last month.
And what's the cost associated with that for the public?
I'm
It's
not
$12
sure.
for the
Rabies
rabies,
vaccination.
and
15 for
the
the
chip
microchip.
is what,
15,
15?
yes.
And are you requiring the chip since it's part of our ordinance?
Are we requiring the chip? I'm gonna answer that loosely. No.
That's really loose.
Half of the
Let me
folks
tell you
that
what,
come in-
this is the mentality of the folks, okay? This is a rabies clinic, and I understand it's part of the ordinance as well. Okay, but if I insist that these people do, they'll walk.
They won't come in.
So I'd rather they get the rabies shot and offer them now. In this case, just so you'll know, we got about 75% of those
Instead of
people
15,
to
maybe
do the
less.
extra 50.
So it can look, you know,
15 is pretty darn cheap. 15 is pretty cheap.
Sure.
I'm gonna tell you, it's pretty cheap. A lot of people, remember, a lot of them that come have already gotten the chips from before. So we're not scanning, and a lot of people are getting chips. I mean, they like that. I don't know, they do.
Yeah, if we were to enforce it and be totally rigid about it, they'd leave. So,
Well, I think, excuse me, Laredo perpetuated that, because all we said was rabies. That's all that's important. Rabies, 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 rabies,
And
and
rabies.
that's all they think is important, rabies.
And they should be getting.
But if it's in our ordinance to have a microchip, it's very hard for me to understand. You just
it
let
is required, and
But
so.
think
And is
about
that the
kids and
cost?
people, that are they required to vaccinate
We,
their children, and some people don't. do
Mr.
it.
Ramirez, we have been also talking about doing microchip clinics. It's something that we have discussed, and maybe Mr.
Yeah,
Ramirez.
the issue is with the rabies is that it must be administered by a veterinarian.
Right.
With the microchips, they can come walk in anytime. They don't have to go to the rabies clinic to get a microchip.
Yeah.
They can come into our office 8 to 5.
No,
And get it.
my question a little bit ago was, is the
Yeah.
$15 the
Right.
actual
Correct.
cost of the microchip? In other words, if we want to really push the microchip, if you're looking at spending $12 on a rabies vaccine, but 15 on the microchip, they're gonna bucket that.
I really thought
So-
rabies should go up because it's been
Should be the other way
$12
around.
for like 7 or 8
because
years.
if they'll look microchip $15, well, I need the rabies, you know. So
Right,
maybe
that's the
maybe
priority.
Well, you know,
a
we
little
could
bit
do a thought,
About
make a
the-
package deal, $30
Yes.
and you get both.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
except
or
that's
25 bucks
$27.
and
Just to
Right.
help the cost for
I'm
the
just
rabies.
saying, we should do it if it's a requirement, and it would help us return to owner, it would help the owners find their animals, then we should do it at whatever it costs us. We shouldn't be making any profit
Well,
out of it.
15 is probably, if you
No,
look
we're
at,
not making a problem.
no, you're not making a problem. You're looking at the microchip costs half that, plus the time it takes to administer it. And you're paying people overtime to work these clinics, so they, you know. it's costing-
Everything on the clinics are overtime.
Yeah.
All of it.
So you're actually, even at that price, we're losing money.
And I have to have all hands on deck. I can't say I need 75% of my staff. So when we do these things, all hands on deck.
You said they come here,
How much does microchips cost?
No, they can come in to do,
$15,
they can do the
that's our
microchip,
cost?
because we can do the microchip. On the rabies, we can't do the rabies vaccine. It has to be
But
like
what's the fee for microchip here?
15.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is
15. That's why I say if they do a package deal, maybe they'll look at that a little bit
Yeah,
better.
that might
And
be
then
more
look at the
palatable to
$15 for the
people.
microchip and the rabies just 12.
But, okay, but then there you're offering them, well, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
just take the,
I
I'll
mean-
take the rabies shot.
Or what do you do with the ones that already have a chip in their company?
Yeah.
Then you charge just the rabies.
charge the rabies, you know?
I mean, it's
I agree
something
with the
that's.
package deal. I'm just thinking we need to either do 25 or 30 because you're dealing with a bunch of ones and changes.
Right,
Looking at,
right.
you know.
Well, if you do 25, you're knocking off $2 and they might look at it as like, oh, wow, I'm getting a deal.
Well, you need to
know?
also let people know that you're doing microchip during the day here, because there's a lot of people that don't work out there that can come during the
Would we-
day and you don't have as much
Yeah.
overabundance
Yeah.
of people in the evening.
In February, we went to the city council, and city council talked about offering free adoption, okay? And so there was a 2-hour debate on a lot of things, including this. And at the end of the day, we talked about looking at the fee schedule. Again, there's pros and cons. If we increase the price, we may lose those people because it's too expensive. I don't think we can reduce it. I don't think we can do like the water and sewer where they put up on the board, this is the water rate for Corpus, or for McAllen, for Brownsville, for Dallas, and then pick Laredo, and then say, well, look, yeah, Laredo is real low. I don't think we can do that with our fees and say, compare the fees to Laredo to San Antonio, because people aren't gonna pay the fees here, they can't afford it. Most of these people that live in Laredo are in low income or poverty levels. And so we gotta be realistic about increasing a fee. And so what I would propose, so that we can sort of close this discussion and move forward, is for us to get a subcommittee and review the fees that we have today and perhaps even compare to San Antonio, because we can't move to this without, and we don't have the authority to make changes. You all can make those recommendations. We would then push them forward to the city council. So if you all want to form a subcommittee to look at the fees, do the comparison, and of course I'd be part of it. I'd have to, since I'm the one who.
We're talking
oversees-
all fees.
Yeah, yes. There's about.
Including the possibility of, and I totally agree with you, but I think we should also look into the possibility of an ordinance amendment or something to allow us to collect part of the adoption fee.
That would be part of what we're doing.
Yes.
And I would
That's
agree
what I'm
I would
saying.
agree with you on that.
Let's look at that
100%.
as well.
But then, again, you all need to form, the chair would need to name a committee. So you all can, and it's not gonna be something we can present like the next meeting. It
Right.
could take some
It's
time.
gonna take time.
But you all need to form a subcommittee, of which I would probably need to be involved. And we could meet here to discuss, so we can look and do all of these things, so that we can start getting some numbers together and making, or presenting an amendment to the council.
I move to that effect.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So before the end of the meeting, and before you push off, you need to name a
Yeah.
subcommittee.
Okay, who would like to be in the subcommittee? Laura, Lily?
That would be us three, and we can work.
And then anybody on the committee that wants to attend, you
Yes.
can.
Discussion?
Next one.
Next. Okay, we move. Discussion and possible action related to trap neuter return ordinance and other matter incident thereto.
All eyes on me again, okay. Okay. So as I stated at our last meeting, the ordinance did pass. I think it was October 15th of 2018. However, we don't have,
November 5th.
yeah. And so we don't have, we need to establish, I guess, a protocol or a procedure, policies. So I will, at this point, defer to you, so that you can tell us from a veterinarian standpoint what would be needed, and what, and I could tell you after you're done, what I think the city's involvement could be in the TNR, as opposed to what we talked about last meeting as the shelter neuter release, comparison to the trap neuter release. So our function would be less, if not hardly any, but the policy would have to be created and adopted by the city, by this, this board can help put policy together so we can move it forward. But as far as the involvement, the trap would be something that we, again, going back to educating public through any means. I'll leave it open-ended, not going to the schools, just open-ended,
No.
social media, et cetera, et
Those are
cetera.
good, I'm not saying
Yes.
no.
No,
I'm just saying that's not all.
no, of course.
We need to do.
And I'll you discuss that, but I'd like her input first.
Yes, go for it.
Well, my opinion is, I would love this, I think this would be fantastic. As y'all know, I'm more of a cat person than a dog person. I am doing it myself right now at the clinic as much as I can. You know, people that come in that say, oh my God, I got so many cats in the neighborhood, there's a crazy lady across the street feeding these cats, but nobody no cleaning. So I actually give a discount. I tell them, just don't bring it on a Monday or Friday, because that's when we are like out of control. I try to push it. The fall will be nice. This is the worst time of year, but we did 10 cats in 2 days, just these last 2 days. I tell them, okay, if you trap them, here's how you trap them. You bring them in, we're gonna snap them, because I just have, and you can talk to any veterinarian. I just do think it's so wrong to bring an animal in that is feline leukemia, feline AIDS positive, and spay and neuter it, and then throw it back out, because you're perpetuating disease. That just goes against any veterinarian's grain, okay? I encourage anybody that trap them, bring them in. We kind of arrange it with them so that we're not bombarded, because we have our regular surgeries that we do every day. We're doing probably 20 spays and neuters, plus gastrotomies, plus broken legs, plus blah, 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 at the clinic. We are underwater. But I encourage people to do that. So as long as they trap, neuter, we snap. I say, why are you going to put the money and release it when usually it has a 2-year lifespan? If it's feline AIDS, it lives longer, but it used to be indoors. We'll vaccinate them. I give them a discount on vaccinating them. We'll chip them. I don't even charge them to chip them. We tip the ear, and we're starting to do that at the clinic. I don't know if maybe the city could give a coupon if there was like a TNR fund, and if there's X amount of dollars, and even if people want to donate to that fund, make it a TNR fund, and I'm sure any vet would spay and neuter if they get paid.
You'd probably be best going through a 501c3.
Okay. I do that with Critter House. I have my 501c3 Critter House. That's where I bring the cats in.
Rather than put the city in.
In the middle of it. Yeah, and maybe we'd do that. Do a TNR 501c3 fund. We just have to have, volunteers or people, just like labs or anybody else.
Can the city donate to
I
get that?
don't know, I don't have the answer to that.
I
It's the
think
city.
you have to apply for a third party.
Yeah,
Third-party funding,
Yeah.
which I think we could get.
so, but the 501c3 can then apply for assistance with the city.
Yeah, we could do that.
And it will go into a third-party fund. And you can also go to
And
the
the
county
problem
for
with
that.
that is what we've already discussed so many times, is that there aren't vets who would participate in. You may be doing it, but maybe some of the others aren't. And the problem is that nobody really has a handle of what does it cost. And I don't know if you all remember, maybe a year ago, we had a public comment about it. People who were doing their own TNR. And there was a woman, I remember her so well, Ms. Garcia from Plantation, who kept saying, every time I go, the price varies. So a cat can cost me $150 or it can cost me $200. And so the cost is the problem. It's prohibitive.
And the thing is that even with us, we give $50 to $100, sometimes depending
Coupons,
on
yes.
coupon, depending on the budget that we have for that month.
And we send a lot of people.
And somehow they come back and they say they still charge me $300, where they removed the $100
Okay,
for one cat.
Let's talk about my clinic, what I do, because I don't know what anybody else does. Okay, of course, we have to have a surgery release form. You sign off that and then line 1, we're going to spay and neuter your pet, or spay or neuter or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You initial it, yes, okay. If your animal has fleas and ticks, you're going to get charged between $10 and $20, depending on what we have to do, because your animal has fleas and ticks. So all they have to do is put Frontline or whatever they want on the animal, or give it a bath before they bring it. I'm not done yet.
But if it's a community cat?
Okay, this is why. That cat is in my clinic. It is giving fleas and ticks to animals in my clinic. I can't do that. So they can...
We don't do it either.
No. Okay, so this is where the cost varies. So you can, and I told you, you want it just spayed, neutered, and nothing else? The spay is X, $120 for a cat, female cat, okay? If it's pregnant, it's gonna be this. If we're doing TNR, I charge $120. It doesn't matter if it's pregnant or not, I'm just gonna spay it, okay? We have the antibiotics. They have their choice. I have a shop named Convenia. We charge X amount. I usually give a discount, so $50. This is if it's your cat, not a TNR, just a general. So $120 if the cat is to be spayed, $85 it's a male cat to be neutered. Okay? You have antibiotics, $25. If it's a female cat, we'll bury the sutures, or you can take a cone depending on what they want. Do you want blood work, yes or no? Here's the price. Oh yes, I want blood work. They initial it, that's added. Okay, so it's their choice. Do you want pain medicines, yes or no? If you want pain medicines, this is the cost. So they choose, they make the choice. They initial it and they say yes or no. All they have to do is say no to everything. I just want the basic package, my animal spayed, neutered, and the antibiotic, and this is it. It would be the same every time. It's what they choose that makes the price difference.
So if you've got a female, because that would be the most expensive,
okay.
and you do, it's a TNR,
Okay.
female,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously they want, I mean, how would you not give them something for pain? You know what I mean?
And
Even if it's a TNR.
it's a
cat?
choice. I can't make you.
Well, what I'm trying to say is any individual who comes in and if you tell them, well, you want the cat to have pain or no pain, most people, if you bother to bring in the cat, will say, of course I don't want him to be in pain.
You'd be surprised.
I think when it comes to
You
like
would
the
be
TNRs, I mean,
We're talking
we're just fixing the
TNR.
problems, you know?
Yeah,
It
we're just
doesn't.
talking about TNR. So, you know,
It's better than.
but, okay, I'll give, you know, I had a person come in today, they brought a cat, it's a black cat. She brought the kittens, she's taking care of the kittens, and I don't take kittens unless they spay or neuter the female, spay the female. Because you know what, then I'm prepared, no, I'm just taking the kitties, they don't fix it. You have to bring the female. We spay the female. We bury the sutures, and so they can't pull them out, they don't have to have a cone or anything. Give it an antibiotic shot, away we go.
And what would that cost be?
That'll be $125, so $145.
And maybe
And I give a
talk
discount.
to vets and who is willing to participate with TNR and come up with a package the way other cities, even the valley that is similar to Laredo, they work by package. If it's a TNR cat, for example, with me, that I take them to the valley and I take them to Corpus and to San Antonio, they give me a package deal where they don't charge me if they are in heat or they are pregnant. They don't charge me a flat fee for TNRs. It includes the pain med, and it includes also of course, the spaying or neutering, and includes the rabies and the nodular ear.
And here's the deal with you, because San Antonio has a surplus of veterinarians, just like Houston and Dallas do, because everybody wants, if I'm a kid getting out of school, I want to have an 8 to 5 job, I want to have vacation, I want to have days off. I don't have a life. I don't have a life. I promise you I don't have a life. I work 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. I work every Saturday and almost every Sunday. Somebody calls, this phone does not ring. It does not ring.
One comment. If city council passed this ordinance for TNR, did they assume that the community, individuals were going to pick up the cost for spay and neuter? How was this ordinance passed?
Absolutely.
Without being in some way, shape, or form funded? Hang on. So, my suggestion, my motion here is to take this back to city council, say, yes, the ordinance is a wonderful thing, but there has to be funding for that ordinance. That is my suggestion. Whatever it might be, something to get the program going.
The money.
Now, here's another problem. How are we gonna have money for the city to do that when the city needs to increase the budget of this place at least $2 million so we can function properly?
Yes.
So there's
Agreed.
not enough money.
Agreed.
We have,
But
Right.
every single
If
city
you don't
council
start the
member
problem-
has discretionary funds. Every city council
and
member.
those come out of my tax dollars.
No. Let me get this under control again.
Yes, thank you.
Discretionary monies are for brick and mortar. This is not a brick and mortar. It cannot be used for operations. So, this thing's all set. The city's not broken. There's ordinances and there's how things
Okay, and
operate.
forget discretionary funds, simply, I think the commission
I think if we
should
did a
let.
No, I'll tell you why. Because this is not a city issue by itself. This is also a county issue. And
Okay.
so the city passed this ordinance, but this TNR, the city will support the TNR. That's what, again, I wasn't on board when it passed. I don't know what the politics behind it was. I don't know what the intent. I don't know what everything that came into this particular ordinance. I was not here. However, with what I am interpreting that this TNR is that the city has agreed that it be placed in, or it's the ordinance for the animal, chapter 6, that this be incorporated as an amendment to give it the ability to move forward. So that's what we're doing. This committee here has to put things together. The city's not gonna roll it out for you and tell you how to do it. So
That's not my point in the least. My point is simply, yes, we can tell you how to roll it out and how to do it, but who are they saying should fund it? If they are saying it's a county and city issue, then to me, that's just an easy way to say if they don't do it, neither
No, I'm
will
not
we.
saying that they said it's that it's a city and county issue. I am saying that is far beyond what, funding by the city. This program is for the community.
Correct.
Okay? And so it's for everybody here. This is not really a city issue.
But
It's
overpopulation is a city issue.
program that the advocates want to put in place to protect these things. Now, the city has not funded that. Mr. Torres can tell you that, Councilman Torres, he was here at our last meeting. And so, there is no funding in place for that. That doesn't mean that we throw it back to them. I'm not gonna throw it back to them and say, well, my committee says give me money. That's not the intent.
And look, you all included in our email the actual ordinance, the TNR ordinance, and we worked on it. Most of us have been here all the time since this committee was created, and we worked on this ordinance to a large extent. And it does say, look, TNR is a community, it's an ordinance allowing community members to spay
Correct.
and neuter at their expense.
Not at the city's.
Not at the city expense, because that's, we're talking SNR there.
SNR is this for the shelter. That would be where the budget comes in.
But we still have to, as a city, as a county, whatever, as governmental entities, we recognize this is a community problem and we have to help facilitate the public doing this. And that's why I keep saying it comes down to how are we going to get vets to participate in this? How are we going to get a reasonable cost? Because if you don't have a reasonable cost for spay and neuter, it's not going to get done. So I think that the role of the city and the county should be to help put some funding into it, not to necessarily pay for the spay and neuter, but to solicit veterinarians from anywhere else, because we know that we have a very limited group of vets here, and many of them, other than Dr. Leindecker, will not contribute their time. But if we put out an RFP, something, to the Hill Country, to San Antonio, to Corpus, to places where they maybe do have an overabundance of vets, to say, look, if you will come once a month, we will provide you the space in our parking lot where the community knows that they will come. We will let our staff sign in people and give them an appointment to come. And we will have this service available. It's not at the city cost, but we will guarantee you that you will have, if you will give us a cost of how much you will charge, we will give you 40, 50, 60, however many spays and neuters, and you're gonna make the money. The city's not paying for it, but we will facilitate it.
This has to be through a 501c3.
It does.
And the 501c3 is the one that's gonna have to work to.
And you know what? I could pick a Saturday and I could do 50 or 60 cats if they'll come in. I would do it. I really would. I would do it. But here's this, okay, so you just say you have 15 cats that they're wild and you're trying to catch them to get them spayed, and you know they're coming in 3 days. What if they don't come to the traps?
Yeah.
You know, and we've already taken so many slots, so we have to, you know, or we have people that'll trap them 3 or 4 days ahead of time and leave them in the trap 3 or 4 days. I've seen it, it just drives me, oh, I caught it on Friday night, and they bring it on Monday to get spayed and neutered, and I'm like, you know?
Okay. I know there was in the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, the colony permit, correct?
What?
The colony permit, a permit for the colonies?
I haven't seen that, but maybe there is, I'm not saying there's not.
Yeah. Okay, so that has not been established. So if someone comes, do you know the fee? No.
No.
Okay.
I'll look into it.
I don't think, I think we're tipping the ears, and I think that I wouldn't want to charge anybody to have a colony of cats if they're willing to spay and neuter them.
It's
you know?
because I believe there was, and I was like, why would you caretakers, you know, I was kind of like confused because that was not part of what we.
Right.
But, so that was one of my, I have to go back to the ordinance and read it again. But it did state colony permit. I guess the caretaker taking care of that.
Okay, so where do we go as far as, I mean, I think the committee still needs some work to do on the
The
Yeah, maybe
TNR.
for the adoption of the TNR.
I think we did have a subcommittee before for TNR. We haven't met. I think my
I'd like to see,
recommendation.
I'd like to see I'll make it a 501c3 so that we can.
That's what you're planning.
Yeah, because I think you'd have a lot of people in this community, even if they didn't own any cats, if they if they had the neighbor that had 15 cats and they were sick and tired of it, they'd probably donate just so the neighbor would cats.
No, that is true, Doctor.
I think they would, I
I have a lot of
really think they
people
would.
that, even though they're trapping them,
Uh-huh.
what do y'all do with them? Do you put them down? Unfortunately, some of these cats I can't keep.
What do you want us to, yeah.
So, but they're willing to do donations.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is that it's in place and that we can do TNR. And yeah, I think we should voice out that, you
And
know,
I would do some of the TNR subcommittee.
it was yourself.
I think the months that we ought to try to get spays and neuters because of people leaving them in traps and stuff would be the cooler months, not the cold months, but maybe the fall would be good. And early spring, number one, I have more time. Right now, you couldn't keep another minute out of my time, I just don't have it.
I think it was you, myself, and Laura Yanez, but she's no longer
Well,
with us.
she would want to come.
No, but you need some of
Yeah,
the
but
committee.
from
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we can, open it up to whoever wants to attend as well, the community people.
And Dr.
Would you-
Lande.
would you
Yeah.
wanna be-
I would like to be in
You-
it.
In the committee, would you want to be in
Thank
the
you.
subcommittee?
And then we'll have Lillian, right?
Yes.
And Lily.
For clarification,
Lily, ¿verdad?
this was part of the subcommittee for the TNR.
The subcommittee, there's a subcommittee now for the shelter to see the fees. That was Ana Laura and Lily, and for the TNR, for the cats is,
Let me know whenever you're ready, we can schedule meetings here. For all the subcommittees. At least we can start dialogue and start discussing.
okay.
And we would go to general discussion for the random.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we continue to general discussion.
I think we had a discussion prior to.
Oh, yes, I would like to maybe hopefully hold a adoption event for Mother's Day, kind of like what they did for Valentine's Day. There's 15 puppies. I'm not sure how many of those are going out for adoption, but I mean,
They
we
won't
have a
buy-
ton
they'll
of
be
babies.
gone by then.
They'll be
There'll
gone
be
by then.
There'll be more.
Okay, but there'll be more, I got here early and I kind of did my rounds and I was like, oh my gosh, we got it. So,
Great
That's a
idea.
good thing, those go fast. Puppies do.
And that would be here,
yes.
and it would be scheduled like from 10 to 5, 10 to 6.
And I will not be around that weekend, I have plans that particular weekend.
The 9th, we were thinking the 9th, the day before.
No, I'm gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. So, I mean,
It's up to the committee to see if they're available. I
I'm
mean,
home.
we'll make, if
I'll
you
be
want to
here.
make that motion, if that's what you want, we'll put
I
it.
can't.
I'll donate to the cause, but I can't be there.
Yeah, those are my busiest day at work.
Backdrop and take pictures.
yeah, like something sweet, kind of like what you, for February, right?
It
I saw
won't be on a
pictures.
Saturday, it has to be during work hours because of our, just like we did last time.
So I'm thinking May the 9th. And then What does it take to
And this is
become a
all gonna have it
volunteer?
on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday seems
whatever.
to be good days for us as well.
Wednesday.
Hey, if I get with KGNS to do a PSA on this spay neuter or trying to get people involved with, you know, take pet care, just basic what it takes to do pet care, would anybody want to be on the show with me? After the wolves, okay. I'll do it.
I'm camera shy.
Huh? Yeah, I am too, believe it or not.
No, you're not.
I am, I don't know,
No,
I
you'll
do it because I have to, not because I
You'll see,
want
I get all like all nervous.
You were all over KGS when we had our event
I
here.
blanked
to.
out.
You did well.
I think your passion takes over and then you just do great.
Do we need a motion for this, no? Like,
No, we can go ahead and instruct staff to do it and we'll plan it for.
Yeah.
Sandra, when
We
would
would,
that
any
be,
day
the TV
works for me.
thing? When would the KGNS thing be?
I have to call Veronica and see when we can do it. What I would do is it'd be pre-filmed, or unless they want to do it like,
Yes,
I'd rather have it pre-filmed where they could play it over and over and be a live
Orientation.
deal like they like to do.
Depending when you do it,
I'll call
I
you.
can make time, maybe in June.
Okay.
Under general discussion, I wanted to ask you, you
Okay.
told us,
Hang on.
No, I was asking Rudy what it takes to, I can get several volunteers to come out and help, so they can come in and fill in the paperwork and,
Then I could email you the form.
Perfect.
And you could pass
So
it
when do you all want to have it? Wednesday?
you let me know.
Okay.
Wednesday?
Wednesday would probably work best.
what day is
Oh, I'll be around
The
Wednesday.
Wednesday the
On
8th.
Thursday, but
Is it the
Wednesday.
8th?
Yes,
Oh, that could be.
the 8th. Starting time you said
We'll say like from 10 to 5.
10 to 5, okay.
We'll do a flyer and then once.
Yeah, the way we did for
We can
Valentine's
just come out
Day.
here and help
Yeah,
out.
perfect, that way I can,
As a committee.
Is that it's gonna be Mother's Day?
That usually brings
Yeah, like Mother's Day.
Okay, so that, we're done, we're okay with that.
just a question that you told us last time, you had several openings and that you were interviewing and if you just could update us on the
Certainly.
staff.
Absolutely. Right now, I've got 2 ACOs that I've already recommended, so they're going through the pipeline, they're in the pipeline. The HR is going to do their part. That'll leave us 3 positions vacant from the 7 that we have. So we're getting there. On the kennel workers, I've got 6 filled, I've got 1 vacancy, and I am going to be, in 5 minutes, I have an interview for that kennel worker. That'll fill my kennel worker positions. And I've got 1 vacancy at Vet Tech. And there is a candidate that is also has applied, but they've got some information that they still require. And so that's where I'm at. I'm filling them up finally. We've done, I think, really good between Rudy and I. We really put up, made it a point to, do the interviews, bring in folks, and we're filling them pretty quick.
Okay, it's 1:56.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we're ready. 1:56.
All those in favor?
All in favor?